This video will cover the planning stage, more of the macro or large-scale design, as well as the broadly applicable techniques. Then in future videos, we'll look at things like micro-design details, how to create layouts, as well as how to design for different types of multiplayer games. We'll start with what I consider the most important step, figuring out exactly what you want your level to be like, how it plays, and how players should experience it, or not. In other words, the pillars, or design goals as they're more commonly referred as. And then we'll move on to research, standards and metrics, and bubble and flow maps. Pillars. This is the part where you basically create a bullet list, where you nail down what the level should be. Here's an example list of several pillars that could all apply to one map. And to go through a few of them, we can start with Egypt. So you might want your level to look and feel like a level taking place in the ruins of ancient Egypt. Another pillar could be flow. Players should be able to keep moving, never running into dead ends, and always see at least one or two paths they can take to move around the level. And another pillar could be playstyles. The level should allow for different playstyles and engagement ranges, basically not just for snipers or not just for players with shotguns. The question you might ask now, though, is why is this important? This is because this is what your level will be, or rather, what you will try to aim for, a North Star, so to speak. It not only helps you avoid the blank page problem of not knowing where to start, but will also help guide you during the development of the level. Because when you're making the level and notice that you, for example, have several dead ends, that would break one of your pillars you established, the flow one. At this point, you should decide if you should change your level to match your pillars, or if you think the level will play better this way, then you might want to re-evaluate your pillars. You can also establish a theme as your pillar for your level. This theme could be a narrative one, a mechanic or gimmick, or a theme that combines mechanics with narrative. For example, the jump pad level, or castle under siege level, with the latter allowing attacking players to breach the castle with siege equipment and defenders to defend with anti-siege equipment, for example. These pillars can also allow your team to give better feedback on the level, since it becomes less about personal preference, but more about how your level matches your pillars. My go-to design motto is, if something seems too complicated, simplify and break it down into something more manageable. In essence, this is what pillars are. Research. Depending on the project, this could either come before or after the pillar step. Basically, just spend time playing the game you're making the level for, play games similar to it, and so on. You should have a strong understanding of how the game actually plays, since a level facilitates gameplay. Read documentation, look up what players or your team thinks, and so on. You should find out what works, what to avoid, and how you can make your level stand out. Additionally, this is also the step where you could research the location, theme, and whatnot of your level. For example, does it take place in Mayan ruins? Then look up images, videos, books, and other material so you can boil down the essence of what would make it feel like Mayan ruins for players. Standards and metrics. Standards are basically guidelines or rules that kind of like dictate how something should be designed. Metrics are sort of like standards, except they focus more on distance, measurements, and things like that. And once you've done the research step, you should try to establish said standards and metrics, or if they've already been established, try to become more familiar with them. Because if a game plays a certain way, then the level design should be designed around that and make the gameplay shine. Because a level that's great for one game might be bad for another. For example, a lot of sharp corners can work great in a slower paced tactical shooter, but can be bad in a fast paced shooter, regardless of both of them being shooters. This is due to how sharp corners influence sightlines of flow differently. So, figuring out the metrics or measurements of certain things for a game is important to be mindful of. For example, how high can players jump? What's the damage fall-off distance of the shotgun? How high should boxes be so that if a player crouches near it, they will be completely in cover? Take note of these metrics and write them down, because then, when you make your level, you can design it with greater design intent, to make it more consistent in terms of gameplay and to help mitigate issues. Also, Try to avoid metric edge cases. For example, let's say you have a player jump height of 2 meters. But then you have a surface that looks like you should be able to jump on top of it, but you fail because it's actually 2.1 meters. That isn't exactly ideal because it reads poorly for players. So instead, you could try and go for a more excessive elevation difference, like let's say 2.6 meters instead. So it more visibly looks like, oh yeah, that's probably too tall for me to jump up. Or you could maybe do something else that makes it look like you probably can't jump on top of it. In the end, the better you understand all aspects of how the game plays and behaves, the better your levels will be. Bubble, also known as flow maps. Some find flow maps to be more or less useful. Since this is more of a personal thing, I'll leave it up to you to decide if you want to use it or not. But basically, before you start working on your layout, the idea is to create a very simplified version. You would take the major areas or rooms of your level and connect them to form a flow map. This would then form the rough structure of your level to serve as a guideline. This wouldn't mean that the lines between each area would be the only paths connecting them, but it would be the main paths. So these could be, for example, the spawn room or the flag room or things like that. And this could be a main, very big area, but these could be smaller areas, let's say a garden or things like that. And this could be the main courtyard. And this is just how they would connect. Also, a variation of this is called a block plan to break down the rough structure. So it's basically the same principle, except you use 3D objects in the editor to form the path. And that this is a bit more flexible, I'd say, because you can actually use the editor itself and flesh out the plan a little bit more in terms of elevation differences and things like that. If this feels difficult to wrap your head around, let's use Turbine from Team Fortress 2 as an example. While I wouldn't say that this map is the golden standard or anything that you should follow, it fits our purpose well here. As you can see, we have several major areas with their intelligence rooms, blue spawns, and a side area here, and a central area here, with major paths connecting them. These smaller light gray paths are ones that would come later and not necessarily be part of the, or actually probably not part of the flow map, since the flow map is supposed to be more simple. So this is basically the fully fleshed out, more complex version of the flow map. And that's it for part 1. Stay tuned for part 2, where we will look at how to design layouts and more nitty-gritty design details.